Yo, what is up, YouTube family? Out here riding my KTM Freeride EXC, and I'm gonna give you guys a little walk around. I'm also gonna give you a little bit of riding footage from today. You've seen this place that I'm at. It's just a simple little grass track for the most part, but it's pretty cool. I'm gonna talk to you about the EXC and what I'm doing to it, and what I've already done to it. Yeah, we're just gonna give you a little walk around. We'll give you a little bit of some more close-up shots for those of you that are curious, because you've only just seen some pictures online and stuff. I know that when I was looking at these things, there was really a dick for information out there, and so yeah, I'm gonna try and hook you up with a little bit in this video. I'm gonna have lots of videos coming out on this. So you're gonna want to like and subscribe, but make sure you hit the notification bell. You don't really have to like if you don't want to, but at least subscribe and hit the notification bell, because I'm gonna be dropping the knowledge on this. We're gonna show you what these things can do, and I'm gonna put this thing through the paces, man. I love it, and I'm just gonna shred this thing up. We're gonna modify, and we're gonna do all kinds of stuff. So here is the KTM Freeride E walk around. Yeah, I think it actually looks pretty cool, man. The number plate makes it look really pretty cool. So, all right, so what have I done to it so far? Well, if you guys saw my other video, I just put a Holeshot device on this thing. I put it at the 90mm level, and so that is the standard position. These are 85SX fork guards, so that's an 85SX Holeshot device. And yeah, so we're getting her motocross ready. I'm going to come off that concrete pad like a raped banshee, and we're going to try and get to the first corner first. You know, this thing becomes at a disadvantage once you start hitting above 40 miles an hour. So I got to get down that little short straightaway and into those corners before those gas bikes start making all that horsepower and start catching up. So you notice the mine just looks a little bit different. My bikes always look a little bit different. Most people hate them. I've got some carbon fiber vinyl sheeting there. I've had it for a long time. It was just kind of in my piles of stuff. So I put it on the subframe, and I put it on the bottom of the shrouds so that it protects those things from me ripping them apart with my legs. I also did add the factory KTM frame guards on there. It's just a thick sticker. It's almost like skateboard tape, but it's not as aggressive. They look like they're made out of some kind of like cheap plasticky stuff online. So I'm gonna zoom in there so you can see. It's actually a nice like thick textured rubber. It's not just a cheap vinyl sticker. So if you've been looking at these for your bike, they fit all Freerides, gas and electric, all years. And so that I'm actually quite happy with the product, being that it's kind of a sticker and not like a piece of plastic that you bolt onto there. So those are the factory KTM. I can link down to them below if you want. Maybe I'll do that for everybody. But yeah, so those I do recommend. The Holeshot device, I'm not going to recommend the company, but because they kind of suck. But the device seems to work fine. I haven't used it yet in a race, obviously, because I haven't raced it. Give the walk around here a little bit. If you look up at the handlebars, they do come with ODI grips. So here's the kicker. The left side is an ODI lock-on. Just a normal ODI lock-on like you would buy at the store. The right side is not an ODI lock-on. This throttle tube is specific to KTM, and this is an electronic throttle. So what that means is that ODI does not make a throttle tube for this bike. So this is a standard ODI slip-on grip. KTM does not glue these things from the factory to the throttle tube. So warning to you guys, when you get one of these and you go riding in the wet, I happen to have safety wire with me. When the grip came loose, I was on the motocross track riding with Ryan Hughes, and you know, it was in a freaking tropical storm and the grip got wet, and so I was doubling down on the throttle trying to get the thing to go. So you guys are watching me in a video where my grip isn't even attached. ripping this thing as fast as it would go. So when you get this thing, pull the grip off and glue the grip on. This throttle tube that KTM puts on this is a really nice throttle tube. It's actually a carbon composite. It's not just the cheap plastic throttle tube. So it's very durable. However, I highly, highly recommend that you guys get these ODI bar ends. I've used several different kinds of bar ends. These ODI ones are by far the best I've used. The internal clamp system is great. They run up real flush to the handlebar. I kind of butchered this grip a little bit, but anyway, that's a story for another day. I highly recommend these, and there's multiple reasons why I recommend those. Number one, if you run handguards, like wraparound handguards, which I don't, that's probably another video. These plugs can be pulled out and then you can put your handguards back on. I guess I will go into that a little bit, because if you're on a motocross track, you do not want wraparound handguards. If you're going really fast, you do not want wraparound handguards. My friend Tracy, women's professional, she's, matter of fact, she's a women's national champion for I think 2 years. Professional women's motocross racer. She had wraparound handguards on one of her bike. It was just like the Achirby's plastic ones, and she was riding on the track, and she had them because we were racing in mud, right? If you dump it over, it protects your grips, all that sort of stuff. She got her arm stuck down inside of them and snapped her arm on a jump. If you run just the plastic deflector shields, like Travis Pastrana style, the ones that actually come with this bike, the little orange ones, those, in my opinion, are better. Graham Jarvis and those guys run the same thing. If you're worried about breaking your levers and master cylinders, get some like arc style levers that open up. I have the clutch lever on my 250 is like that. So what happens on these is if the lever gets hit backwards, you can pop your master cylinder and then you have to buy a master cylinder. Doesn't seem to happen to Graham Jarvis and those kind of guys when they're crashing down the rocks, so I don't know. I've been riding my 250 or 350 EXC for a long time. It's hit the ground tons and tons of times and I haven't had issues yet. I don't have any wood to knock on here. But yeah, still I feel like a broken master cylinder at probably $125 is better than a broken arm, missing work, you know, $30,000 in medical bills, maybe a surgery. Wraparound handguards, but you can run those in the woods when you're hitting trees, and then put these plugs in when you go and you're riding faster terrain. Okay, so the next thing that these are good for is, I don't ever run wraparound handguards, probably never will on this bike, but if you put this in, what happens is when you crash, not only does it not rip your grips, but the other thing that happens is if you fall on the ground, your throttle can get stuck wide open, or because the grip itself is jammed down in the dirt and twisted, right? So with these, you hit the ground and it's hitting something that doesn't spin. So your throttle is less likely to spin wide open when you hit the ground. So it's kind of a safety feature. So it protects your grips, it protects your throttle tubes, and it keeps your bike from sticking wide open when it hits the ground. So the other thing that's really good about putting these on there if you get your bike right away is, like I said, this is a unique throttle tube from KTM. You're not just rolling into your dealer anywhere and getting one of these. It's got a different design inside there because it's not a cable, it's electronic. It's actually quite a bit like the KTM 690. So if you break this throttle tube, you crash it on some rocks or something, you shatter the throttle tube, well, then you got to wait at your KTM dealer for a week. All right. So put this on there. You're almost not going to break your throttle tube if you do it. So put one on there and saves you. These things are like, I don't know, 16 bucks. Go get a pair. You can see that there's no tail section on this thing, but that I have holes. So I took the tail section off, but from airing this thing out way more than it's ever supposed to, I blew the tabs off that hold the sub fender thing on, so I have to drill through holes so that I can hold the fender on. No big deal. I just got a couple little panhead screws that I'm going to run through there. It actually works pretty good, but yeah, I have holes in my fender, so that's what those are. I still have the chain guard on there. I'm going to remove it, but I want to do my inspection at the DMV before I take that off because they like to see those on there. I don't know. I think they're a hazard. That's probably a lot of the noise that you hear in the back end of this thing, is the chain bouncing off the plastic. So I don't like them, but it's on there for now. I added my little accessory mirror on there. Once again, that's for my inspection. You've seen those in my other videos. That's the Ultimate Dual Sport mirror. It actually sort of works, and it tucks away so you can rip the thing moto style. I relocated the key because I put the number plate on. So what you're seeing here is I just took a piece of thick plastic and I cut it out and I pinched it between the pinch bolt for the handlebar mounts. And the stock one, the key is mounted into the headlight bezel, or whatever you would want to call it. So when you take the headlight off, you can't. Yeah, the first video that I made on this bike, I had it zip tied to these cables. So I made this little plastic bracket thing. Maybe I'll remake one in aluminum. But that holds the key and puts it up here, so it's not down here in the way. It's less likely to get probably broken up here. So I have it mounted right there. It's nice and clean. Doesn't spin or anything weird. So I've got the number plate on there right now. You look up here in the back, the sub fender mounts, sorry, that's probably out of focus. The sub fender mounts with these bolts, I've got them screwed in tight, but this hole, if you're riding in the mud, will throw mud into your battery box. So I'm not in mud. I stuck a not candy bar, but a granola bar wrapper in there so it won't throw mud all over my battery. But normally I just stick a piece of tape over that. You could do a little bit better solution than that, but just so you know, it will throw mud up in there, and I caught that before I ever did, so I don't have any mud in mine. Yeah, the rear brake actually works pretty good. It is what it is. It's a small brake from an 85, so it is what it is. I've been looking into sprockets on these things, and I would like to maybe have a 50-tooth sprocket, which maybe wouldn't make it go fast enough for the track, but it doesn't look like anybody makes them. I found some places that do customs, but I think it's because it doesn't have enough clearance really for the chain guide. KTM did make one at one point, but they're not anymore, and nobody else seems to either. Like I said, this is the 85 hub, but this is a 520 sprocket, and the 85 does not use a 520, it uses 428. But this thing has tons of torque. It's got the same torque as a 300 two-stroke. So they use the 520 on there because obviously that torque is probably too much for the 428 chain, or else KTM probably would have put one on this bike to save weight. So the availability on sprockets for this thing is very limited. You can have them custom made, but yeah. So you can see I got motocross tires on it since I'm here. This is a Dunlop 952. I don't believe you can get these mail order. I think you have to get them from your dealer. Right now I have 190/18 on it, or 110/90/18 on it. I'm gonna put 100 on it. I think I'm gonna put a little bit smaller tire on this thing so I can get this thing to have a little bit less rotating weight when I'm in map 2. Might be kind of crazy in map 3, but I want to try and get a little bit less weight in that rear tire, and I can do that with that smaller tire. You know, 125s for the longest time ran 190/18s and or 100/118s, 190/18s, and then they went to 19-inch. In the front, I have a Pirelli MT-16. This tire seems to work pretty good in my area. I'm actually fairly impressed. It's a higher volume tire, so I didn't think I was gonna like it, but I'm liking it so far. I'll get in this suspension, what I got for it, and what I've done to it so far. So it has basically trials type valving in the suspension. Right now the front, I would show you, but I gotta hold the camera. The front is really, really bouncy, and I have the rebound set completely slow. All the way slow. Compression clicker is all the way out. So my forks are completely dialed all the way out on the clickers as far as everything is as hard as it gets. It still's kind of spongy in the front end. It works good when you're just kind of like bouncing around in grass, kind of putting along, but when you start getting really, really aggressive on it, there's a little bit too much rebound, and that makes it dive on stuff in corners. The rear shock, I'm less, for lack of a better word, disappointed in. It's got a progressive spring on it, and currently I have it 8 clicks out on the compression out of, I don't know, 27 or 30. So I got it really stiff. And honestly, I haven't checked the sag adjustment, but I'm guessing it's probably around 90 or 100. Don't quote me on that. I'm gonna do a video about that. The shock seems to be a little bit stiffer, and when you push on the seat, I've also got the rebound all the way hard on the shock, but it rebounds much slower than the fork. So I may be able to get away without revalving the shock for a while for motocross style conditions. So if you're doing enduro stuff with this, the valving is just fine. It's very bouncy. If you watch enduro, they use the bounce in the suspension, boing to get the bike to maneuver around. So that makes total sense. You know, they run it soft and they run it springy. That's not really what you do in motocross. And since I'm kind of riding this thing in cross-country motocross type conditions, I want it different. It's not a flaw of the bike, just what I want. I did order a straight rate spring for the back of this thing, and with a straight rate spring, it's not gonna blow through the travel quite so much initially, and so the bike won't be so soft and squatty. So with the rebound slower on the rear shock, and once I put the stiffer straight rate spring on it, I think I'll be able to get away with the rear shock the way it is for a while. The front forks are a 48 spring stock, and I got 52s for it. And what I'm gonna do is, the 52 might be a little bit stiff, but I got them as a safeguard. I may end up putting 148 and 152 in the fork, which will kind of give me a 5.0 spring rate. We'll see. That's another video to come. That's going to be probably next week or the week after, because I get my suspension stuff, I think, on Monday, and maybe the rear shock stuff on like Wednesday. So I've done suspension to it. I've pulled off all the lights. I've done tires, Holeshot device, a couple of protective guards. And yeah, I'm having fun. Make sure that you see the link for these ODI grip ends, because I think that everybody should probably put those on the bike. It's just smart. All right, so I know that was a pretty long-winded video, but I hope I was able to hold your attention. Once again, I'm going to do lots more videos on this thing. Some will be short, some will be long, some of them are just like riding clips, and then some of them are going to be like full-featured things that you can do to your bike, like this one, and explanations on why. Anyway, I'm going to let you guys go and let you get on to your next video that YouTube suggests. And I appreciate you watching. And make sure that you hit the notification bell and a little subscription down there so you can see more free ride videos, because I'm going to be cranking them out. Catch you guys later. Aloha from Hawaii.